Empires are built with armies, but empires are sustained with accounting. 2,500 years ago, the Persian Empire became the largest the world had ever seen, stretching from Egypt to India, controlling more territory, more people, more wealth than any previous civilization. And they did it not primarily through military conquest. They did it through the most sophisticated financial system the ancient world had ever witnessed. The Persians didn't just defeat enemies, they organized them, didn't just conquer territories, they monetized them, didn't just collect tribute, they built the world's first federal tax system, they created history's first globally accepted reserve currency, they constructed the ancient equivalent of the SWIFT international payment network. They invented the operating system that modern states and global economies still run on today. This isn't romantic history, this is corporate history. The Persian Empire functioned like a multinational holding company, with subsidiaries, with standardized accounting, with centralized treasury management, with information systems that moved data and capital faster than anyone thought possible. If you want to rule the world, you don't need more soldiers. You need better auditors. This is finance through time, and this is how Persia built the blueprint for every empire that followed, including the one you live in now. When Cyrus the Great conquered Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt, he inherited chaos. Not just military chaos, administrative chaos, financial chaos. Each conquered territory operated on completely different systems. Babylon used grain-based accounting. Lydia had coined money. Egypt ran on agricultural taxation, different currencies, different record-keeping, different administrative structures. No standardization, no integration. A massive empire with no unified financial architecture. This is unsustainable. You can conquer with inconsistency. You cannot govern with it. Cyrus understood this. His successor, Darius I, understood it even better. Darius looked at the empire and saw not a military challenge, but an organizational problem, a management consulting nightmare, a corporate restructuring opportunity. So Darius didn't act like a conqueror. He acted like a CEO, like a central bank chairman. He took the chaotic collection of territories and imposed system, structure, standardization, financial discipline. He turned military conquest into administrative excellence, turned plunder into taxation, turned chaos into the world's first efficiently run multinational state. This required innovation, required inventing financial tools that didn't exist, required building infrastructure from scratch, required thinking about empire not as territory to control, but as an economy to manage. And Darius delivered all of it. The foundation was taxation, not arbitrary tribute, not random plundering, systematic, predictable, sustainable taxation. Darius divided the empire into satrapies, administrative provinces, each governed by a satrap, a regional administrator responsible for tax collection, local governance, and maintaining imperial authority. But here's what made it revolutionary. Each satrapy had fixed tax obligations based on population, based on agricultural capacity, based on trade volume, based on measurable economic output, not arbitrary, not subject to satrap whims, fixed, predictable, knowable in advance. This is the ancestor of every modern federal tax system. The IRS, National Revenue Services worldwide, all based on the same principle Darius established 2,500 years ago. Fixed obligations, transparent calculations, predictable revenue. No surprises. No rebellions triggered by arbitrary extraction. Satraps collected local taxes, sent fixed amounts to central treasury, kept surplus for local administration. This aligned incentives. Satraps who managed their provinces well could keep more. Satraps who failed couldn't meet their obligations. Performance-based governance, incentive structures. Corporate management principles applied to imperial administration, and it worked. Revenue became predictable. Central treasury could plan, could budget, could invest in infrastructure, could maintain military readiness, could fund expansion. All because taxation became systematic rather than opportunistic, because financial management replaced simple extraction. This is what separates empires from raiders. Raiders take what they find and move on. Empires build systems that generate sustainable revenue. Darius understood this, built accordingly, created an administrative machine that could govern a quarter of the world's population efficiently. But different territories still used different currencies. Trade between provinces remained difficult. Commerce required constant exchange, constant negotiation, constant uncertainty about value. This friction limited economic integration, limited the benefits of being one empire. Darius solved this with monetary standardization, created the daric, a gold coin of exceptional purity. 95.8% gold, consistent weight, consistent quality, instantly recognizable, universally accepted. The ancient world's first truly international currency. The daric wasn't just Persian money, it became everyone's money. Greeks used it. Even though Persia and Greece were bitter enemies, even though they fought wars for centuries, Greek merchants still preferred darics for trade, because the coins were trustworthy. because the gold content was guaranteed, because Persian monetary credibility exceeded political hostility. This is the power of reserve currency status. Not about forcing others to use your money, but making your money so reliable that even enemies choose it voluntarily. Because reliability trumps politics and commerce. Because merchants care about value, not nationality. Alongside the gold daric, Persia issued silver siglos coins. For smaller transactions, for everyday commerce. Two-tier monetary system, gold for large trades and wealth storage, silver for daily commerce. Sound familiar? That's because this is the same bimetallic standard most civilizations used for the next 2 millennia. The daric became the ancient dollar, the benchmark, the standard. When other currencies fluctuated, the daric held value. When other coins got debased, the daric maintained purity. When commerce needed certainty, the daric provided it. This wasn't just convenient, this was strategic power. Control the currency people use, and you control the terms of trade. Control the terms of trade, and you control the economy. Control the economy, and military power becomes secondary. But currency standardization only works if information and goods can move efficiently. An empire spanning thousands of miles needs communication infrastructure, needs logistics networks, needs the ability to move messages, money, and materials faster than enemies can react. Enter the Royal Road, 2,700 kilometers from Susa to Sardis. Not just a trade route, a strategic information and capital flow network. The ancient equivalent of fiber optic cables and swift messaging systems. The road had stations, regular intervals, fresh horses. Couriers could travel the entire length in 7 to 9 days. In an era when most messages moved at walking speed, this was light speed. Intelligence from distant provinces reached central command in days, not months. Imperial decrees reached distant governors almost immediately. Financial instructions could be distributed empire-wide rapidly. This enabled centralized control without centralized presence. The capital could monitor, direct, and manage distant territories in near real time. Satraps couldn't hide problems, couldn't delay reporting, couldn't operate independently for long. The Royal Road made the empire administratively cohesive despite vast geographic scale. And it wasn't just messages. Gold moved on this road. Tax revenue from distant satrapies, military funding to frontier armies, emergency capital to regions facing crisis. The Royal Road was a monetary highway, moving wealth where needed, when needed, creating liquidity across the empire, enabling the central treasury to function like a modern central bank, deploying capital strategically, responding to crises, maintaining system stability. The Persians even maintained strategic reserves, gold and silver stockpiled in royal treasuries, not for display, for emergency deployment, for crisis management, for maintaining system liquidity when needed. This is the ancient equivalent of sovereign wealth funds, of Norway's oil fund, of Saudi Arabia's reserves. Strategic capital held not for immediate use, but for systemic stability. So, if the system was so perfect, why did Persia fall? Everyone knows the story. Alexander the Great, military genius, unstoppable conquests, defeated the mighty Persian Empire through superior tactics and leadership, romantic, heroic, mostly wrong. Alexander didn't defeat a functioning system. He foreclosed on a bankrupt one. By the time Alexander arrived, the Persian financial system had already collapsed from within, not from external pressure, from internal decay, from forgetting its own principles. Later, Persian kings abandoned the discipline that built the empire, gave satraps too much autonomy, stopped enforcing fixed tax obligations, allowed corruption, permitted local governors to become semi-independent. The centralized financial control that made the system work deteriorated into fragmented fiefdoms. Satraps started keeping more revenue than they should, started building independent power bases, started acting like local kings rather than imperial administrators. The financial integration that unified the empire fractured. Revenue to central treasury declined. Imperial capacity weakened. Not because of external threats, because of internal financial breakdown. The military defeats came after the financial collapse, not before. Alexander didn't destroy a strong empire. He conquered a hollow one that looked powerful, but had already lost the administrative cohesion and financial discipline that created its power. The balance sheet had failed before the armies did. This is the pattern throughout history. Empires don't fall to superior external force. They collapse when internal systems break down, when financial discipline erodes, when administrative efficiency declines, when the mechanisms that created success get abandoned or corrupted. Military defeat is symptom, not cause. The real collapse happens in ledgers and treasuries before it appears on battlefields. The Persian system didn't die with Persia. It got inherited, copied, adapted. Every subsequent empire learned from it. Roman taxation mirrored satrapy models. Islamic caliphates adopted similar administrative structures. Modern nation-states run on variations of Darius's innovations. The Federal Reserve, central banks worldwide, all descendants of the centralized treasury management Persia pioneered. The dollar as global reserve currency, direct lineage from the daric's role, swift international payment messaging, the royal road in digital form, sovereign wealth funds, Persian strategic reserves updated with modern technology. The operating system hasn't changed, only the hardware. The mathematics of empire remains identical. Control taxation, control currency, control information flow, control capital deployment. Do this well and you rule. Do this poorly and you collapse regardless of military strength. Persia proved this 2,500 years ago. Proved that power flows from financial architecture, not military capacity. That sustainable empires are built on spreadsheets, not swords. That the most important imperial infrastructure is accounting systems and monetary standards and communication networks. That auditors matter more than generals in the long run. This is finance through time. We follow the money to show you that history is ledgers and currencies and tax codes that happen to involve humans. Persians ruled the world with the gold daric. America rules with the paper dollar and SWIFT system. Who takes that power next? Cryptocurrencies? China's new systems? In this 2,500-year cycle, what will be the next daric? Let's discuss in the comments.